What's up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Will, as always, joined by Miss Ayrika.
Hi.
And on today's video, we're going to be doing our review episode for our Inside Let's Play.
We did it.
We did it. We beat the game. We finally did it. Took us about, what was it, 4 videos to do? Yeah, I think maybe slightly longer than on average. But in any case, we finished the game and we have our thoughts. And we're going to break this down into 3 parts. We're going to talk about the story, the gameplay, and the visuals. Let's do story, visuals, gameplay. Wrap it all up that way, I guess. I don't know. That's what we did in the last video. Anyway, let's jump right in. All right, starting off with the story. The story was kind of interesting because it wasn't told in a traditional narrative, right?
Right. There was no dialogue. There was really no like cutscenes.
No, and there wasn't really like any text on screen either. So it was definitely more of a show rather than tell style of storytelling, which I like a lot, actually.
Yeah, I like that. I don't need my handheld to get to the story. However, there were parts that we were noticing, like the people in masks and like the people who sent the dogs after us and why were we trying to get into this super secret experiment or whatever was happening. And at the end of the day,
spoiler alert, if you didn't have to finish the game, this is a major twist.
Pause. Go watch episode 4 and then come back to us.
Exactly, yeah. All right. The ending. Okay, so like you were saying, throughout the whole game, they're basically kind of dropping us little hints about what was going on. You know, at first you think we're escaping from somewhere, or we're like trying to avoid capture.
Right.
And then as we go on, it seems like we're actually trying to infiltrate this like corporation or something. Inside, and you see these like mind control things going on with the puzzles. You see like people being carted into these like, I don't even know where they were going because we never saw them again.
Right.
We wind up in this like underground facility. There's like fish people, there's scientists, and at the end they're doing some crazy experiment and we become the blob.
Yes, I think someone referred to it as the human potato online.
I like that, the human potato.
Which felt right. But you know, we end, right? We are rolling, and we weren't even sure if it was ending.
Right, yeah. It was like the game just kind of started to slowly back out.
Right.
And then all of a sudden the credits rolled. So basically we got 0% closure or explanation for anything that happened to the game, which is such a shame. Because it's like, I understand it's like meant to be open for interpretation or whatever.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
But they threw a lot of questions and like things at you that made you question what was happening. And none of that got answered. Like, why were the people kind of helping us at the end once we became the human potato? Yeah,
like why were they all kind of gathered around in that one room?
Yeah.
What was with all the cameras? We noticed those like camera projectors everywhere. They were even part of a puzzle at one point. So I don't know. The story, it's kind of hard to comment on the story because frankly, even though there was a story, there was no conclusion. So we don't really know what all that was about. It's pretty much just left up to your own interpretation.
Right. And there's a lot of theories online. We did read some of the theories, which are cool. You guys should check those out. Maybe we should do a video on the theories.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe. But I feel like none of those even really had anything to like pull from.
No.
It was just like use your imagination, which once again is fine. But I would have liked something to have been answered.
Yeah, so like just this whole story is just build up, only to just have nothing in the end.
Pan out. Credits.
So I don't know. For us, not the best way to end a game after having all this really cool build up and like a really intriguing sort of hook for a story, I guess.
Yeah.
But maybe it's different for others. I don't know. But those are our thoughts on the story. Moving on to the visuals, the graphics, the aesthetics of the game. What were your thoughts on all that?
I loved it. I loved the look. I loved the feel that the look created. It was a simple, muted color palette Everything felt right. The sound and like the lack of sound, like that one puzzle with the upside down water.
Yeah.
There was no sound whatsoever, and we had our headphones on, and it really kind of messed with you.
Right, yeah, totally. I completely agree. Like, the way they would use sound, and because there was even a puzzle that used sound at one point in the game, so really all of your senses, I mean, I guess except for smell, but maybe
and
one
taste.
maybe one day in taste. Okay, fine. The senses that are usable in a video game were all at play here, and overall, I felt like the game just had a really just had a vibe, right? Like a consistent sort of eerie, spooky vibe that just permeated every aspect of the game. I liked the simplistic character designs. I thought that was cool. It sort of gave me like a cartoonish feel, but like, you know, one of those creepy like claymations almost.
Yeah. It was kind of Tim Burton-y.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. Overall, I thought the game looked really good. There was so many parts during the game. It was very cinematic. You know, there were so many parts you could probably just like screenshot and just like have, you know, like a cool image.
Right. And I mean, we had the dogs. You would hear the dogs starting to growl and like intensify, and like the line puzzle where you can hear yourself breathing.
Oh yeah.
Because you were already on edge, and then so to hear like the rhythmic like dun 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 of everyone marching, and then like the little kid like it just created this atmosphere, which was really, really nice. And like you said, I loved the way it looked, sounded, everything was great. It all contributed to creating that environment of general spookiness.
And you mentioned a little bit, not only that, but also the sound and the everything would just kind of contribute to the puzzles itself.
Yeah.
Like you'd have to time things, like with the fish girl, she would come up on you and it was like, pop! And then she would get you, so you knew how long you had before you were taken. Right. So that was really cool. And so just on top of all that, you just had this really great I mean, it was a side scroller, so you weren't like going in depth into these environments, but they felt like they had depth.
They felt like they had depth. There were layers and dimensions that made it feel immersive, even with it being a platformer. Yeah,
so the game really just total immersion on that part, with just this really cool kind of unique atmosphere. Overall, just made playing the game that much more fun. All right, so gameplay. We kind of touched on that a little bit just now.
Yeah.
But what did you think overall of, I guess, the puzzles in general?
I love the puzzles. I like puzzle games, so this was kind of up my alley to begin with. But they weren't too hard. They weren't like Ori hard. If any of you watched our Ori streams back when we were streaming, we got very angry, very quick, very often.
This was not that style of game at all.
No, it was... Each puzzle taught you a skill that you would use in the next puzzle or later. So the puzzles made you feel competent, going forward. But they weren't so easy that you were bored with it. Yeah. So it was just the right, like, Goldilocks, not too hot, not too cold.
Yeah, I think we only found ourselves really, like, cheating and Googling the answer to a puzzle maybe twice.
I think we Googled twice. We did on the early barnyard with the chicks, where I definitely thought they were being ground up.
Yeah.
And then the spinny ladder with the sound cannon that I had the solution for.
That's true. Yeah. So, yeah, I would agree as well. One other thing I liked about the puzzles too is that they weren't just like you enter an area, you got to push some blocks, you got to do this and that. It felt like each area was like the puzzles were part of the story itself. Yeah. So like when you were in the very beginning of the game, you're being chased, and the puzzle is the chase.
Right.
Like you had to jump a certain way or like hide behind something at the right moment, and that was part of the puzzle. And then, continuing onward later on, when we were in that line and we had to like pretend that we were, one of the dummies, that was a puzzle in itself too, because you had to like time things and everything like that. So
it was seamlessly built in.
Exactly. Yeah. So like the world, it never felt like you were taken out of it to do a puzzle. Like the puzzle was part of the story and like the game itself. So I thought that was a really cool aspect.
Yeah, it wasn't like dungeons. It didn't break up gameplay whatsoever. So I thought that was great.
One element that I also really liked, speaking of how the puzzles are kind of interwoven into the story, but on top of that, the puzzles themselves were actually really unique.
Yeah, I mean, we had the various mind control puzzles, which got progressively harder. But the first time we encountered it, which was after the pig, which was also weird, but whatever.
Yeah.
We hop up, we put the cap on, and it took a second to realize what was happening.
Yeah, you have to be looking in the background to see the dude start moving around.
Right.
And at first you're like, what in the hell is going on?
Yeah.
Then you start to realize, oh, these guys are under my control, and they are now part of this puzzle.
Right, and then it gets more advanced where they start to pick you up and, like, lift you and throw you, and that becomes an important part of the puzzles as well.
Yeah. So you had those, and then, I mean, you had, like, regular puzzles, too, you know, just putting boxes on top of things and, like, timing stuff.
Right.
But, like, I just thought it was cool that, they're incorporating the story into the puzzles, and the puzzles themselves are something that I've never seen before. One of the ones you kind of touched on earlier was the upside down water one, too.
Right.
So, like, in most games, I feel like you know how to use water in a puzzle. This quite literally flips that. And it, like... but yeah, it literally flips that to where you have to think about things differently. And I don't know, I just thought that was so cool because it takes, like, something that was sort of conventional and makes it unique and adds to kind of the mysteriousness of what's happening in the gameplay. So, I don't know. I mean, I've never seen anything like that. And I think that'd be something cool to see more in puzzle games, Yeah. Just this fusion of story into gameplay and doing that in new and interesting ways.
Definitely. Controls were easy enough to use.
Yeah, there were some times when I would say, like, I don't know, especially when we were with the blob, that, like...
The blob was hard
to controls,
control.
I think it was intentional, but, like, it was sometimes kind of annoying in certain spots. But overall, though, I felt like the game handled pretty well as far as the gameplay goes.
Yeah. I think it was great.
Yeah.
I really, really, really enjoyed the puzzles. So if anyone has any games with similar style, let us know because I would love to play them. Like I said, I love the puzzle games.
Yeah. So definitely let us know down in the comments. As far as, like, the platforming goes, what did you think of that overall?
I think it worked really well. Right? I mean, you usually don't play platformers like I do.
No, it's not my forte typically. I feel like the platforming wasn't necessarily a major component. Like, there was some puzzles that required a bit of platforming.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't call it like a platformer in the same way as, like, Ori and the Blind Forest is a platformer.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, so it's definitely, like, heavy puzzles, light platforming, with a hefty dose of, like, bleakness to kind of keep you on your edge. Keep you on edge, I should say.
Yeah,
throughout.
It did get a little heavy at times, like when we got chopped in half.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal sometimes. We got, like, drowned several times.
Yeah.
Some of the ripped by dogs. That was pretty messed up.
Yeah.
There was, I mean, this is, you're playing a kid, remember? Like,
you're
getting brutalized throughout most of this game if you mess up on a puzzle.
Yeah. So I could see that bothering some people.
True.
I like horror, so, like, it didn't bother me too much, but I could see some people being upset by that.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, if you're not into gory stuff or watching children be dismembered, maybe you shouldn't play this one.
Good.
You've been warned. But overall, I would say gameplay was stellar for me.
Same.
All right, so overall, what would you give this game on a score of 1 out of 10?
So for me, I would do an 8.5. At the beginning of the game, I thought for sure it was going to be a perfect 10. Like,
yeah.
I loved the puzzles. I loved the way it looked. I loved just everything about it, the vibe. But that ending. The
ending was bad. It was bad. It was not a good end. I feel the same way, and if I was to give a score, you're a little more generous to me. For me, I'm giving like maybe an 8 or like a low 8, high 7. Like, to be honest, all of that gameplay is great. All of that cool aesthetics, all of that cool, I don't even want to call it cinematography or whatever, but the way the game looked is great. But if your story just essentially just kind of ends and you have no explanation for anything that just happened, to me, I kind of felt like you're wasting my time in a little bit.
I loved everything else so much.
Yeah.
I love puzzle games, and I love spooky, so like this was such a good combination of the two.
Yeah.
Two things I really enjoy.
Right.
That ending hurt.
It hurt. It hurt. That's what I'm saying. It hurt a little bit.
It did hurt, but not enough that it ruined the game for me.
And yeah, let me be clear. I'm not saying the game was bad by any means. I mean, giving an 8 out of 10 is still a good score. But it's just like, I don't know. All of that stuff is enough to make it still a great game in my eyes. But had they stuck that ending, it would have been like a 10 out of 10 for me.
Yeah. The ending is the only thing that kept it from a perfect score for me.
So, I don't know. Maybe keep that in mind, game developers. Don't blue ball us in the end. All right. So I'm giving it 8 out of 10. You're giving it 8.5 out of 10. That's our score. Let us know what you guys think of this game. Have you played it? What did you think? What did you think of the ending, most of all, considering our feelings on it?
And if you have a favorite theory about the ending, let us know.
Yeah, let us know. All right, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.